Hello and welcome to Rajya Sabha Television. I am Vishal Dahiya, and this week in India's World we'll look at the India-Oman ties. An era has come to an end in Oman with the death of Sultan Qaboos bin Said Al Said, who was the longest-serving monarch in the Gulf region. Syed Haitham bin Tariq Al Said has taken over as the new Sultan of Oman. Now, India and Oman enjoy warm and cordial relations which have grown leaps and bounds in the recent past. Diplomatic relations between both the countries were established in 1955, and this relationship was upgraded to strategic partnership level in 2008. So for more on this and to better understand as to what kind of relation both countries enjoy and how this change in regime in Oman will have an effect on the ties between both the countries, we have a distinguished panel of guests today in the studio. Let me first introduce them to you, beginning with Professor A.K. Pasha from Center for West Asian Studies in Jawaharlal Nehru University. We're also joined by Ambassador Jitendra Kumar Tripathi, somebody who's been in the region and in the country specifically. And we also have with us Mr. K.B. Prasad, Senior Associate Editor of the Tribune. Let me begin with you, Professor Pasha, and let's put the things a bit in historic perspective as well, because India and Oman go a long way back, even before the diplomatic relations were established in 1955. So how do you look at the ties between both the countries, or people-to-people contact between both the nations?
Yeah, both India and Oman have been maritime partners for centuries. Omanis used to come regularly to the Indian west coast for trade and commerce. And this was followed with cultural relations, if you visit any part of Oman, you get a sense that it is almost a part of Kerala or the western coast of India. And also the culinary habits and food dress, all of that resembles much of what India has shared with Oman for centuries. And it was in 1798 that the British, after consolidating their presence in India, they went to Oman. And these links through British also brought India and Oman closer, much closer. But coming to the post-independence period, India along with Britain were the only two countries with which Sultan Qaboos' father had diplomatic relations. And India was one of the first countries to upgrade this to the embassy level and sign a treaty, peace treaty with Oman. And since between 55 and 70, his father ruled almost with a single hand.
Let me also bring in, Ambassador Tripathi here. Ambassador Tripathi, Sultan Qaboos' regime was for almost half a decade, almost that time. And the ties which Professor Pasha was mentioning began during that particular, before that particular period, were strengthened during Sultan Qaboos' regime as well. So how do you see in the recent past the relations they grew between both the nations?
Well, apart from the historical relations, when both countries established diplomatic relations with each other, the relations grew very steadily, and so much so that till 1960, I was told when I was there, RBI was Oman's central bank, and rupee was a valid tender, which even now is a valid tender. And Sultan's grandfather, he was so much pro-India that every monsoon he used to visit Mumbai, stay there for 2 months to see monsoon. And after few years, once when he came, he refused to go back and he said, okay, I abdicate in favor of my son, I will be here. And he was buried there. And also, see, President Shankar Dayal Sharma taught his father, Sultan Qaboos' father, in Mayo School, Ajmer. So all these relations, and I personally witnessed when our president went to Oman, rather our minister went to Oman, our Minister of External Affairs, Pranav Mukherjee, Sultan Qaboos went all the way to airport and up to the plane to receive him.
That's a rare gesture.
Yeah, that's a rare gesture and very good one. And now, out of 48 lakhs of population of Oman, more than 8 lakhs are Indian workers, blue collar as well as some white collar technocrats, and they are by and large considered in a very positive manner, unlike our other neighbors, like unlike people from Pakistan, people from Bangladesh, or people from Sri Lanka even. So that apart, and they are very liberal, and they have a very natural sort of sympathy towards India. So much so that and it probably Dr. Pasha will second that when there was a communist uprising, the former Sultan took shelter in one of the temples, and since then, and his life was saved, and after that they are so much inclined towards India that they have allowed Indians to construct temples, to have their religious functions there, and as far as political relationship is concerned, we have lot of MOUs, a lot as you have already mentioned, strategic partnership. Right now we have got concession in Dukum port for our naval ships to anchor there. So, and Oman in that reason has served as a mediator, as a power broker, as a country which is almost neutral, but which can exert its influence
on all the powers in the
on all the powers in the region.
Okay. I'll bring in Professor Pasha again here, but before that, let me go to Mr. Prasad. And Mr. Prasad, now that we are looking at the chronology here, so if you look at the strategic partnership, the level to which the relation between both the countries reached in 2008, from there onwards, in the past decade or so, there have been several important, milestones as well.
Yeah, I think one of the key pillars of cooperation is in the area of security and particularly military. And in fact, I think it's a tri-service exercise that India conducts, probably with one of the three Army, Navy, Air Force regular exercises between India and Oman is done there. So much, and we also have a joint military cooperation council which meets periodically.
And Oman also supports Indian Navy's anti-piracy missions.
Yeah, I mean that's because it's there, right? In the, it helps India. At one point, if you remember, when you also had to go to the Gulf of Aden, and India had to provide India did provide escort to its merchant ship by putting the Indian Navy. So you need, and as Ambassador Tripathi pointed out, very close. You have a port which helps you to service and get things going. Though we have long legs, but still you need a backup kind of a thing. That apart, as I said, it's a regular tri-service exercise. I mean, not all one by one, Army, Navy, Air Force, which is very significant considering the fact that India's presence in that West Asia theatre in particular, and it gets boosted by this joint exercises that we conduct very frequently. That alone is not the strategic thing. There are other issues too, and I think another big area with India and Oman is the civil aviation sector. In the aviation sector, we have pretty well going. I'm not even talking about the investment trade. Trade may not be so much in terms of figures, but there's bilateral investments that we take. So the areas are quite a lot if you look at it. Number, if you count it, it will be almost nearing 10 fields in which there is very robust cooperation.
Okay, let's go back to the era of Sultan Qaboos. Let me bring Professor Pasha here again. If you look at Sultan Qaboos's regime and the kind of importance the Oman Sultanate had over other players in the region, and the kind of relations they developed with all the players. How significant was that, and what is its importance vis-a-vis India? Because India also have quite a good relation with other key players in the Gulf as well.
Yeah, I mean, to briefly mention, Sultan Qaboos was the only Arab leader or Muslim leader to support India during the Bangladesh crisis. It voted in favor of India when countries from Saudi Arabia to Malaysia, they had a different position. So Sultan had a vision what Oman could do in bilateral relations. Before that, his father, in fact, had offered the port of Gwadar to India for a very paltry sum. For some reason, we did not take that. But it goes to show how his son, also Sultan Qaboos, continued the friendship with India. When Sadat signed the peace treaty with Israel in 78-79, Oman was the only country in this region to support Sadat. And it was during that period Prime Minister Morarji Desai was here, and there was an attempt to expel Egypt from NAM. Both Oman and India cooperated in seeing that the peace process is supported and Egypt is not expelled.
Okay.
So after that, there has been cooperation on a number of issues between India and Oman, even though they had relations with Oman, but the tilt was decisive towards India on a variety of areas. About 25 years ago, Oman became a major partner for our food security. We established a fertilizer factory in Oman, and that has been playing an important role in the import of 100% import of fertilizer from Oman. And Oman, because of its good relations with Iran, with Saudi Arabia, with other Gulf countries, after the Oslo Accord, he also invited the Israeli Prime Minister Isaac Rabin in 1994. As early as that period, we can see the visionary role of Oman in this part of the region. And also last year, 2018, he invited Netanyahu. And after the Oslo Accord, he established an office for Israeli-Arab cooperation. So in a way, condolences and praise for his leadership has come across the board from Russia, America, Syria, Iran, Iraq, PLO, Egypt, even the Yemenis, both the factions, they were talking in Muscat. And also the Palestinian factions, both of them were friendly with him. So it goes to show his diplomatic skills, his emphasis on peaceful coexistence, and also, without assuming a high power role, quietly he played his own role in a variety of regional issues, much to the satisfaction of all the parties.
Okay.
So India saw Sultan Qaboos as a stabilizing factor who worked tirelessly for peace, security and stability even in the midst of revolutions, wars, interventions. He was a factor whom everybody consulted and listened to with respect.
Okay.
And he played an important role, as you know, between Iran and the United States, which led to the JCPOA agreement. Even now, as late as December 24th, the foreign ministers of India, Jaishankar and this Yusuf bin Alwai, the Omani foreign minister, and the Iranian foreign minister Zarif, they met in Muscat. A very important meeting, because we are planning to import Iranian gas through Oman, through a pipeline, because the earlier India-Pakistan-Iran pipeline has not really taken shape.
Yes.
So Iran and Oman are cooperating, and Oman has been looking at India's energy security from a different prism altogether. So they're going out of the way to help us get as much as possible from this region to address our developmental needs.
Okay. Ambassador Tripathi, so as Professor Pasha is pointing out, from the India's point of view, when it comes to energy security, Oman is a very key and a very important player, not only because it has always played the role of that diplomatic role in the region, but has also held a very key position in terms of ensuring that India's energy security needs are fulfilled in time and as far as requirement.
Yes, though Oman is the poorest cousin among the GCC countries, because its oil production is lowest among all those countries in GCC, yet Oman had played a very crucial role, and Oman had always offered us their oil at on-spot purchase basis. And as Professor Pasha has said, the oil pipeline from Iran, from Bandar Abbas to Musandam, and then from the Arabian Sea to India, it is very important for us. And Oman has ensured that it is done and it is secured. And more than that, whenever India India wanted to communicate something with any with some of the Arab countries, and Oman came forward. Oman was a sort of messenger also to diffuse the crisis, and in in OIC and other regional Islamic organizations, Oman has always played a softer role for issues concerning India. And moreover, you see, moreover, we are still exploring gas in Oman, and maybe in near future we can have some good news for our gas supplies.
Okay.
So this all brings India and Oman together in a very close connection.
Okay. Mr. Prasad, not only the country, but also the erstwhile leader, that is Sultan Qaboos. If you look at his personality and the kind of role he played in the region, that also made it possible for both India and Oman to develop those stronger ties between both the nations.
I think that's, as Professor Pasha also mentioned, this is largely driven by the personality of the Sultan Qaboos, because he had this very deep understanding as to how he wanted to take, and I think one of the points he did mention, he remained low-key, especially if you look at the GCC 6, you have Saudi Arabia there, you have UAE there, and among them to make a mark for yourself without really being trying to ruffle any feather in that area. So I think that speaks significantly to the sagacity of the person to deal to stay there, work with his own interests and his country's interests, and remain within the GCC setup. So that, I think that is what is also and that's one reason why India Oman, I mean, in fact, I think one of the countries which also supported India's place in the United Nations Security Council. So it is one of the early people who ticked the box for India.
Okay.
So all these matter, and as I said, we have a strategic partnership with Oman. Obviously, it is only because of the leadership's ability to see through what was required and also act in that direction.
Okay. Professor Pasha, let's now move on to the present and look at the future as well. Sultan Qaboos's successor, how easy or how difficult it will be for him to carry on that legacy which Sultan Qaboos had in that region, one, and two, from India's perspective as well, how significant will these changes be?
Well, the new Sultan Haitham bin Taimur, he is an experienced person, quite a senior person in the hierarchy, who has been Minister for Heritage and Culture, and also he was the chairman of the Vision Oman 4040, which prepared the blueprint for how Oman should navigate its domestic and regional and foreign policy. He was also the Secretary General of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So he kept a close eye on foreign policy, and when he took over power, the first point he mentioned was the continuation of Oman's foreign policy of friendship with all and non-intervention in the internal affairs, and to diffuse the crisis and to work tirelessly for peace, security and stability in this region. Okay. So this is very significant, because this is what we also aspire for in this region, where we have tremendous interest, about 8 million Indians, energy security, trade, investment, food security, as I mentioned. So all of that Oman and India share, and all Indian presidents and prime ministers, starting from Deve Gowda, I.K. Gujral, Pranab Mukherjee, Shankar Dayal Sharma, Atal Bihari Vajpayee, and Prime Minister Modi, who went in 2018, have met this new Sultan, and they know his key role in the system, and so it should be a continuation of the past policies. But I must also mention here that India had given the Nehru Award for International Peace and Understanding to the late Sultan, and he was to have come here to Delhi to receive the award, but because of the health reason, he could not come here. But from some of the rare interviews he came to India in 1997-98. Very rarely he travelled outside. except for health reason. So we had a very privileged position to receive him. But of late, since our relations have become very close with UAE and Saudi Arabia and this region, somewhere in the Omani leadership it was felt that being Oman a very close and old friend of India is being ignored to a certain extent, and the preference now goes to UAE and Saudi Arabia. So some of the editorials, some of the comments and my own meetings with the officials there, although not officially articulated, but there was a sense that India needs to upgrade and take back the relationship to what it was in the 70s, 80s, 90s, until about 2010, when we started looking for Saudi Arabia and UAE in a much more positive way. And we took it for granted that Oman will remain as our old and enduring friend, but we should not take it for granted even as important a country as Oman, which has rich potential, especially in maritime security. In fact, last month when the foreign minister was there, we signed the first maritime agreement with any Gulf country. And to just add 2 lines, it involves institutionalized cooperation in shipping, port development, growth in maritime navigation, joint projects in shipbuilding, repair and recycling with the use of modern information technology. This is a very unique agreement which we have signed with a maritime Indian Ocean country, and I think this will solidify and institutionalize our maritime relations because of the disturbed situation in Somalia still and also in Yemen.
Okay, and does cover a lot of aspects there as well. But Ambassador Tripathi, from your point of view, if you look at the new Sultan of Oman now, and as Professor Pasha mentioned, the new Sultan has clearly mentioned that he will continue with the foreign policy of the previous Sultan as well. So nothing to worry as far as India is concerned, and everything looks like it is on track?
Yes, I don't think we should worry at all about this. As far as my experience goes, I had the opportunity to meet the new Sultan when he was Minister of Culture, along with my ambassador, of course, twice, and I found him to be a person of very clear vision and a person of very soft demeanor and a person clearly inclined to India. So, and now as you are saying that he has, just after taking over the reins of the country, he had declared that he will continue the policy of the late Sultan.
Okay. So
I don't think there should be any problem or there should be any worry for us, because Oman is the only country where Indians are open-heartedly, wholeheartedly welcome. And Oman is the only country in that region where Indians have acquired Omani citizenship. 200 or 240 Indians, and that itself speaks volumes about relationship between the two countries, the two people.
Okay.
So I don't think we have any reason to worry, but yes, like Professor Pasha said, we should not be complacent like we had been for the last 10 years. But I am happy that from December last year, again it seems that we have started giving Oman its due importance after the visit of foreign minister, two visits of foreign minister. So that is a very welcome sign, and I think we should keep it up.
Okay, Mr. Prasad, from your point of view, the way you look at the future of India-Oman ties from here onwards with the new Sultan in place.
See, one thing is, as both Professor Pasha and Mr. Tripathi mentioned, the Sultan comes with a lot of experience and understanding and first-hand understanding of India and India-Oman relationship. So that is a big plus that when you look at it. Also remember, it's based on a very solid foundation of a very old relationship between neighbors. So there is a very deep historical and cultural relationship between the two countries, which is acutely aware by the leadership on either side. And I think one of the points that Professor Pasha was making is that if you can't take a situation for granted, or if gets the impression that you are not getting the status same according, that is a pitfall that can always happen. So I think course corrections and quick course correction, as was also pointed out by the back-to-back visits of the foreign ministers of India to, so that helps you to kind of correct any impression that might be seeping in. But then as you say, in any relationship, there is there's always scope for betterment and better things to happen.
Okay. Professor Pasha, concluding words?
The Sultan, as I mentioned, played a bigger role than what one had anticipated. Obviously, for the new Sultan to put in his big shoes would be a tall order. But there are 2-3 issues which the new Sultan has articulated. One is the fallout from the Yemeni civil war.
Okay.
Because the tribes in Dhofar region, that is the western part of Oman and the eastern part of Yemen, they are more or less the same. They straddle the border of Oman and Yemen. And the Dhofar rebellion, which was there for about 5-6 years, which was crushed, still is a major issue in those areas. The second one is Saudi Arabia has been asking Oman for a direct access to the Arabian Sea for a pipeline because they have discovered huge oil and gas reserves on the Yemeni-Omani Saudi border. So the Sultan had not yet made up his mind because of the problems in Dhofar region. So this is second issue.
Okay.
Then the UAE also has some interest in having a friendly government in Muscat. There was problem between the two countries. So UAE and Saudi Arabia and Yemen, not so much Iran, is how the new Sultan tackles under his leadership. That remains to be seen.
Okay.
But I think overall he has goodwill from the major powers, Russia, China and the United States, and also major regional powers from Turkey to Iran to Egypt and Israel.
Okay, so there it is. As our panelists have pointed out, it remains to be seen as to how the new Sultan of Oman carries forward the legacy of Sultan Qaboos. But as far as India-Oman relations are concerned, they are based on a very solid foundation, historical as well as deep cultural ties between both the countries, and both nations are most likely to take them forward to the next level as well. We'll come back again next week with a different topic. Till then, keep watching Rajya Sabha Television.